So I watched Kylie Minogue's documentary. It's a 3-part documentary on Netflix. And I got to say, rave reviews, it was good. Very good. And I'm very particular. Well, I'm not very particular, but I mean, it was 5 stars. This was so good. Kylie Minogue is such an interesting person. I had such a blast watching the show. At first, I'm like, oh, 3 parts? I don't need 3 parts. But turns out it was that good. Kylie Minogue needed a 3-part documentary. This was on Netflix. And when you got the time, I'm giving it rave reviews. You definitely got to check it out. Okay, so right off the bat, what I think about Kylie Minogue is just everything. She's great. But also, I do need to preface that I'm not like the Kylie super fan, so I don't know everything, which is actually, I would say, which actually made it a good thing. You know, if you love your favorite artist, you go to all the concerts, you know everything. So you're not like blown away by all the new information. But somebody like Kylie, I just, she had the Padam song a couple years ago, which, just flew just everywhere, was so successful. And, you think back to the 80s, Local Motion, and she, of course, was an actress prior to even the music. So she's kind of always been there. My favorite song, and she just said this in an interview. I don't know if she said, the interviewer asked her either, what's your favorite song or what's the song that most connects you? Like people will always think of you with this song. And you know what she said? It's like Kylie and me are having a moment. Kylie says, and again, I like Kylie Minogue, but I don't like really know all her stuff. So I'm not like a super fan. So I'm thinking her answer to that question, the interviewer asked the question, what song most represents you or most connects you to your fans? What's the it song? I'm thinking she's going to name 10, 15, 20 other songs that I don't know. Because again, I like her, but I don't know all the stuff. She says, Love at First Sight. And by the way, I, of course, did rile that. I took a while to get there. I wanted to, at the edge of the seat, She says At Love at First Sight was the song. And I was like, oh, see, now, Kylie and me, now I'm connected because I've always said, I'm not the quintessential super fan and I know everything, but I always liked her and I always loved that Love at First Sight. Great song. And that was something that in an interview recently she mentioned. I mean, she was promoting, of course, the documentary, the 3-part documentary. And that was the song that she chose as oh, you know what? Love at First Sight really connects to people. And I'm like, I'm the people in that case. She's talking to me. Anyways, why I think the documentary was good. First of all, it's 3 parts. And the problem is, I worked on a couple of shows prior years ago. My career starts with radio and then several production jobs and stuff of that nature. So I'm not like this huge intellectual documentarian by any means, but from radio and all those years, I know my way around, audio and certain segments and beats. And, you also know what fluff is. And I'm not saying that I would ever assume that a Kylie documentary would have fluff, but you do see a lot of times these days, especially when it's not a 1-part documentary and it's like a 3, a 6, or a 10-part documentary, you see that, and you almost think in your head, whatever the story is, I mean, the story could be, virtually anything. And you kind of get the sense that there was some meetings that were had, the network or the streamer, and Netflix is like, well, let's get 6 episodes out of this. And so inherently you're like, okay, now you know that the production team, the documentarians, and the production itself, tied into the distributor like a Netflix, they're stretching it. And with music, it gets more interesting than even stretching it or fluff on any other thing like a sports doc, let's say. Because with music, you end up just hearing the songs at an overextended period of time, which you could do that any other time. You could listen to music any other time. And I've always seen, and I will not name names, sometimes they get extended in that way that you're like, this is all fluff. It's good, but it's all fluff. I also just watched the Red Hot Chili Peppers one, which I thought was actually great as well. That one was just, one particular start to finish. So I was a little nervous. I was like, 3 parts. Now, let me tell you something about me. I don't like to binge. People like to binge. I don't like to binge. I'm not a binge watcher. The most I could do is at about 3 things, 3 different episodes. I am a old school, remember back in the day on Sunday, you know, people would watch The Sopranos on HBO or Sex and the City or True Blood or whatever with the giant shows. Showtime had some big shows. Whatever the giant shows of that time, and even in network TV, sitcoms. I am a event and also appointment TV type of viewer. I don't need it rolled out. You know, it's here, you know, whatever today is, and you can watch all 15 episodes in one day. Do not like that. I don't even much like sports, but the one thing I like about sports more than anything, especially my football, I love football. Sundays is your chance. Well, they of course added Monday for a while, but like Thursday night football. But my point is, I like a more appointment-based viewing. So I say that to say I'm not a binge watcher. And so I see the 3 episodes. I says, well, this Kylie doc better be good. And it was. It was so good. It was so entertaining. Now, a couple quick notes on what I enjoyed about it. First of all, I love that Danny, her sister, Danny Minogue, was so instrumental in it as well. There was just such a sense of, again, I've always known Kylie's work and you always knew Danny, but also like them together and this family support. So here are the things that like, yeah, and I'm saying, I feel almost embarrassed. I'm like a fair weather, you know, bandwagoner Kylie Minogue fan, but not in a bad way. But I always recognize that because if I like something, I am always like, you know, you always get that sense of like, we are the super fans. We are the ones, we're not bandwagoning, you know, kind of like the sense of, they make the joke, the New York Knicks had not been in the finals for such a long time. So, you know, we're talking years and years and years and years and even more years of like, if you're a New York Knicks fan, it's you on your own for the most part, you know, because the team is not going to win. And then Jalen Brunson and Josh Hart and everybody, it's like the team is really gelling and becoming something. And so like you'll look at a like person with a New York hat or t-shirt and you're like, okay, you're on the bandwagon. Like you weren't really in the trenches with us, you know, as far as support. And so like I am always very aware of like, okay, just being a fair weather or a bandwagoner to anything. So I'm like, respect. But Kylie was just, again, somebody I always knew, but I didn't know all the stories. So to get all these stories, to see all these things, and the way that it was expressed and done, documentary-wise, the beats, the timing, the slowness that was necessary. You know, a lot of times, again, this is more how I feel because I worked in radio, so that I respect time and space a little bit more. I know now everything needs to be like boom, 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 which I can't stand. I can't stand a vertical clip unless it's good, but it's very rare. And I always prefer stuff like this. We talk for an hour. Hey, let's talk. Let's talk for 30 minutes. Let's talk for 15 minutes. Let's talk for an hour. I don't want 15 little stats like boom, 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 boom. Your mind doesn't get to marinate with the story. You don't get to really like express and understand the thing. So I'm much more long form content as a person who has always created through radio and also as I consume things. So it was, it sounds like it's a bad thing. It was slow. The pacing was warm. Everything was so great. Again, so I'm kind of, as I'm watching, I'm like seeing this level of like, the stuff you knew she was an actress, but you didn't know the little details. You forgot, or I forgot, because Kylie Minogue was, you know, they would make little examples sometimes. Like, oh, she's the Madonna of Australia. You would kind of know about her, but you wouldn't really know everything unless you were like a super fan. And I was not, but I always liked and respected her. And then I'm like, oh, so she had a really difficult time of that time to transition out of like, you are an actress. Now, who do you think you are singing? Now, of today, no one would think the wiser, because the current generation, it's more like if you have a namesake, you monetize that. So if you do music, no one like looks differently at you. But as somebody over 35, over 40, over 44, that era was like that. People were very serious. I mean, the creative teams, the executives or whatever, they were very serious. They didn't want to ever insult the audience. Like, oh, just because this person is a star here, she can't sing, but I'm not saying Kylie. She or he can't sing. We're just going to like hawk an album. It got through the cracks, Milli Vanilli. but it wasn't a thing that happened a lot. So it was very hard to like establish yourself. You could not necessarily have more than one dream, because even though they were all artistic things, which sound crazy today because it doesn't work like that this way now, but back then it really did work that way. So there was all these artistic dreams that you didn't really mesh together. And if you did, you better be able to actually do it. So from that lens, people were harsher. And I guess from that lens as well, people really, really put her through the ringer, of like, what is this next chapter? So from there, from the doc is what I got from the documentary. This is what I got, is that really halted her. So you mix that, and then you mix that with like, they fell in love with her as an actress, but you're aging, you're getting a little older, you're in your 20s, maybe you want to take some different creative risks with both your artistry, your look, and, people sometimes, the audiences rather, they didn't take to that well. See, I didn't know a lot of that. That was also very new to me. And so you're starting to see that. You're seeing this wonderful, there's a couple romances she talks about, but like this, everything with INXS, the lead singer INXS, with Michael Hutchins, that to me was like, now I'm like, I want more. I could have had a 3-part documentary on Michael and Kylie's relationship, because that to me was like such an incredible portion of that. Most importantly, she says a little thing at the end, or in the middle rather, but where it was like, he was my first of so many things. And she was talking probably about love stuff, but she was also probably talking about his vibrancy and his fearlessness and go-getterness, but albeit all the stuff that, he was as well. Sort of took her out of a shell. So that was also what she was reflecting. And then the way they tied it together, and again, I encourage you to watch it, so I'm not like really trying to go too much into all the things, but the way she even was like, and you know what? That was another first with Michael, meaning, she's watching a past, they were not together at that exact moment, of course, but still, it still hurts, and she was like, isn't that interesting? Like, Michael was the first of so many things, including that, meaning including a grieving heart from an old lover. Like, what? I was like, this is so good. This is so good. It's so interesting. It's so entertaining. And then more than that, I mean, there is the moments, some shared for the first time on this Netflix documentary, but some that was already public, and she, of course, went through with all this stuff and stories with her battling cancer, and really diving deep into those as you mix it with the potential or not potential of motherhood or not motherhood, mixing all that with, where and who are you when all of that goes on and you get out on the other side, where and who are you, Kylie, at this certain age, a massive success to the world, and giving all that, how long can you continue to do that? But then past dreams like, motherhood may not be. And so all of that was really covered well. Again, it's never about the topic per se. You could always have your interest on the things that you like, but it's how it's done. I'd like to say, like, again, because I worked in radio and production, I'd like to say I tell story in a little bit of a different way too. I'm always getting told, like, you're too winded, you're too long, but it's like, I'm trying to get to the stuff. Let's get to the stuff. I want more. I feel like we've got this zest that we could really dive into, and oftentimes to just like, make it like faster, quicker, more palatable, palpable, easy digestible. I get it. There's a time for that, but there's times where you also go the other route. So again, she could have a silly song like Param. Great. It did well. People were shaking their ass to the song, But then there's other times where you as a person and as a viewer, as a consumer of this work, you want more. Like, that's what I think. I feel like I always want more. Anyways, 3 documentary parts were good enough. It was done well, and it's made me much more of a Kylie Minogue fan than I already was. I learned so much about her. Again, I imagine even if you were a super fan, like, you knew a lot of it, but it was still done so well. But as me, somebody who like was a fair weather, like, I love her, I like her, she's great. There's not a moment that I hear the song Love at First Sight that I'm like, that's that I love that song. That's a great song. But that's as far as it ever went. So now I feel like I'm into the Kylie Minogue universe. And, artistry is just that. It's not meant to do anything. It doesn't save anything. It doesn't help anything. It doesn't make you taller. It doesn't make you lose weight. But it is fun, and that's the point of it. And it is a way to like maybe escape from, whatever you have and whatever you're trying to struggle and overcome. That's going to be your day to day. Sometimes hearing a great song and seeing an artist that you already like and find out so many wonderful things about them, that's motivating and inspiring. And that's the way I take it, because that's what you got to do. You got to be able to dig in on those tough times. And she shared a lot of those tough times. And it is that really weird thing I would think on a lot of artists, like it's me and she has to suffice, the me, the her, or do I suffice these crowds? Like, was my calling more these crowds, these audiences that I'm given that gift? Why not give that? If you're given that gift, why not give that, to the audiences and make, people happy? She was around and fought for people in the early part of her career because she wasn't always received. And I love that part of it too. Like, she went up for crowds and communities that maybe like she was received early on at times that she wasn't received at this mass appeal. And there's just such a connection even with that. I'm just telling you, like, it's time for me to go get a Kylie Minogue concert ticket and have the time of my life, because it sounds like she is just so intriguing and I want more and more and more. Anyways, go check it out on Netflix. Lots of wonderful parts. If you like the 90s nostalgia. What was she wearing? There was like a little fashion moment too. It wasn't Galliano, but it was one of the like 90s fashion moments, and she's right there with Michael Hutchins. And it's like, even if you want to watch the 3-part documentary for just even that, taking you back to 90s, like that era, even that's amazing. So check it out. And I would rate it 5 stars. I'm also encouraged to hear different viewpoints. Maybe it was 4 stars for you. Maybe it was 10 stars for you. We all like the art differently, but check it out on Netflix and support Kylie Minogue, because honestly, there's a lot of people that succeed. It's kind of nice to see people that succeed that seemingly have a good heart also.
Hey, Ronnie Jr.